So this tower is a metaphor for something. As you can see, I've built a very nice stairs that, could flush out with half steps and things. Could, fill out this roof and have like a top platform here. It's a fairly nice tower. It's I think it's simple but well designed. And the thing is, if I wanted to add a bedroom or something, extend on this tower, I could come out here and just, start building, and then I can make, a room out here and maybe put a roof on it. All very easy to expand on. And so what exactly is that a metaphor for? Well, it's a metaphor for programming. In a lot of times programming, there's a lot of different ways you can do things. There's no right answer. There's no real, well, there can be a wrong answer and a right answer, but most of the time, it's your own opinion. So that's a tower, and you can build a tower that way, and then that tower is fairly expandable. However, you could also build a tower like this. Yeah, I think you get the point. Is you can just do this, and you know what? Technically, this is a tower. Now, is this tower as good as that tower? Oh, well, it's a straight line up in the sky. But what if I wanted to add a bedroom? Well, I guess I could start expanding out here. But you know what? What if I don't want a bedroom there? What if I want a bedroom down there? Well, how do I do that? Well, I guess I'm going to have to do something like... Oh, no. Yeah, see? Perfect example. It doesn't expand well and often ends in your death. No, that's not intentional, but it actually works well. So with that tower, it's hard to expand on. It can be done, but is it as easy as the first tower? Not really. And in a lot of ways, that's exactly how programming is. There's sort of not necessarily right and wrong ways, but there are different ways of doing things. And sometimes it's not so straightforward as that. You might look at a problem, be, you know what, maybe this is the best way to do it. And then be like, and in some cases, maybe building a tower like that is the best way to do it. If, say, you wanted to build a city in the sky, then you don't really care what the tower looks like as long as you get to the top and you can start building out. But in other cases, you want to have that tower have different sections and things. You might want to expand on it greatly. Then maybe this is the type of tower you need. So, with that being said, understand what I'm about to show you took a week to build, and it's sort of the equivalent of this tower opposed to this tower. Because in the first day, I had built something that did the exact same thing as what I'm about to show you, but code-wise, it's more of a tower like this. It wasn't very expandable, and it didn't work very well, but it got the job done, and it looked like what I wanted it to look like. Then I spent a week making it flushed out so it was more like this, so that I can make the code expand and do whatever I want to it. And I hope that metaphor makes sense. If not, it's not that important. I just wanted to explain why what I'm about to show you probably looks pretty simple. It's mostly because I spent a lot of time on engine architecture, which is more words you probably don't understand, but eventually we will get there. Whether it takes weeks or months or even years, I will get through this and I will explain everything. Alright, so now let me cut to actually showing you what I built. Okay, right guys, so what the heck is this? What is this awful looking garbage game thing that's not even really a game? Well, this is what took me a week to build. But like I said, I had this working on the first day, but it was really poorly put together, so it wasn't that well. But here, it may not look like it, but there's a lot of stuff going on here. There's actually a map system that I've built so that it's actually like a full map with tiles, and so these tiles could be any sort of symbol. If I load in a texture or a text file, they could be a bunch of different types of tiles, and each could have their own sort of properties. The main character is built on this @ sign is, I'm pointing to it like you guys can actually see. The @ sign that's moving around here is representative of the player, and it's moving around using a player system that could be used for AI or network players. It's all built on a sort of an abstract system so that more than just input can control it. Anything could control this. So I could make multiple enemies and have an AI manager, which isn't set up yet, but I'm working on. There's a collision system built on messages, so everything sort of has a message system built into it, so I can broadcast messages. There's a lot of stuff right now. I know you probably don't understand a word I'm saying. I'm just trying to get across the fact that there's more here than just an @ sign moving around based on WASD keys. But like I said, I got this done in one day, and then it took me a week to flush this out in such a way that now it's completely expandable. I'm almost at the point where I can just start throwing enemies in here, set up a basic AI system, maybe start a text loading system so you could load a map. I'm going to be working on this in parallel with the videos. So the videos, I'm going to go over very basic stuff, and the whole time I'm going to be working on this and showing this to you periodically. And this will be what we'll work our way up to, is building something like this, a little roguelike game where you'll have dungeons and enemies you can fight, gear you can pick up. And I know it's like, but it's all text. Honestly, actually, you've seen this. 1 second, I'm going to switch back to Minecraft. Okay, back in Minecraft. So honestly, the fact of the matter is that it may not look like much, but if I dove right into graphics right off the bat, I would lose so many people. It would be ridiculous. So I feel like it would be more interesting and a lot better if I just started with DOS and worked my way through that. In like, in DOS, I can still explain a lot of stuff like AI systems, how to build AI, how to do collision, although DOS will be very simple because it's tile based, but like still do collision stuff like that, message systems, engine architecture, teach a lot of that really complicated stuff without having to get into graphics. And the nice thing about that roguelike is I want to design it in such a way that it's expandable, like this tower. Like if I want to, we could, like, if you think of this tower as like the DOS game, like well, it's hard to describe it with this metaphor actually, but I want to build the DOS game in such a way that we could, with a little bit of work, swap everything out to be using textures instead. So like once we get a working dungeon, roguelike game. If you don't know what a roguelike is, just Google it. You'll see what it is. Stuff like NetHack and Adum. But yeah, once we have a roguelike working, I'd like to build this, like introduce graphics by swapping out the DOS version for a graphical version of the game, but in such a way that we don't have to rewrite any code. We just have to rewrite what assets we use and, rewrite the windows. I'm getting too complicated again. And I hope I'm not scaring people off, but just understand that it's going to take a while to get there, but it's worth it. There's nothing quite as fun as building your own game and then seeing it come to life, like having an idea, appear like you can imagine it in Minecraft. Like if you have like an idea for like a castle, and you build that castle, or a tree fort, and you build that tree fort, when it's done and you look at that, it's just like, I built that and I put a lot of time into it, and it's amazing to see that sort of mind's eye image come to life. It's very similar with programming, except for in terms of a game. So it's like you think about a game and you're like, I have this idea for a game, and you sit down and maybe it takes you a week, maybe it takes you 2 weeks, maybe it takes you a year to program that game, but then you see that game in action, and there's sort of like that moment where you're like, that is what I had envisioned, and now it's a reality on my screen. And so that's just an amazing feeling. And I like, just to touch on, I'm just going to keep building here so that I'm not just like wandering around. Just to touch on like programmers / designers, I know a lot of people have told me that they're interested in programming and they want me to talk more about this, and so that's like part number 2 of why I'm doing this. Is I think I can kind of give a base understanding and sort of teach a little bit of this stuff, and people seem to want to hear about it, so I'm gonna try and do that. But the other part is, I hear a lot of people ask, how do you become a designer? Honestly, the best way to become a good designer is to design games. You know what the best way to design games is? To make them. Honestly, you can write down a game down on paper, and yes, you can learn to design games very well that way. Board games work really well too, but it all comes down to actually being able to play that game. That's why board games work really well, is because you can actually physically start to make it, and then once you see those mechanics come together, you better understand how games flow. Not like on paper, a lot of mechanics can sound like a really good idea, but once you implement them and start playing with them, that's when you really find out if they're really fun. And sometimes when you implement it, you'll find that sometimes things didn't work out exactly the way you planned, and then sometimes that can be actually better, and you'll actually find that mistakes can actually be some of the most fun parts of a game. Honestly, you can learn to use something simple like Game Maker to make games. You can use RPG Maker to make games. All of those work. But for those people who want to be designers, honestly, learning a little bit of code probably isn't going to help you in your career, because then you'll be able to better communicate with programmers and better understand what they're talking about when they tell you about limitations, about what they can and can't do, and you'll just, you'll get along better with them, because you'll have a better sort of working relationship if you can understand what they're talking about. So if you're like, I want to be a designer, if you can, try and follow along the videos with the programming. But again, I know programming isn't for everyone. Not everyone can understand it, but I'm going to try my best to make it as sort of friendly as possible. And I think I've gone on for like 20 minutes to half an hour now on this sort of rant about what this channel will be about. And I think I've gotten the point across. I certainly hope so. So now I have to go record lesson 1, and then both this video and lesson 1 should be up around the same time. I'm really interested to hear what you guys got to say about this whole idea and what your thoughts are about, like, I know there's at least 10 people of the 2,000 subscribers I have right now that really are interested in learning about this sort of stuff. But as for the rest of you, who are like, I don't care about programming, just know that this won't affect my Let's Plays. I'm going to try to make the Let's Play, I'm going to make the Let's Plays priority 1, and then this will be a sub-priority, just sort of something on the side that I've always kind of wanted to do, and now I'm at a point now where I think it's probably a good idea to maybe start doing them on a Sunday basis. Okay. Right, so that's pretty much it. So this is the end of the introduction to my new channel. Oh, and I forgot the name. So Traps was taken. TTraps was taken. So the new channel name is TTrapGames, which stands for The Tolhi Rants About Programming Games. So and some of these videos are going to be very much a rant, and that's why we may have to redo them multiple times until they finally become super clear. I really feel like I've covered everything now, so I'm just going to say that, I hope you guys enjoy this video series. Again, it might be a little like daunting at first how much there is to learn, but I'm going to try and cover it in such a way that it's fun and it's always going to be interesting. Let's hope I can pull that off. Okay, so this is Tolhi signing out. Later, guys.